Well, hello there, me hearties, and welcome to another episode of Heart Scales. I am Trinity Hart, co-host of the educational, lighthearted, and fun, super cool podcast called the Heart Plus Moon Hogcast with my good friend who goes by Susie Moon, and I am also co-founder of Heart Scales, a small snake breeding venture with my husband who goes by Dex Hart on this channel, where we value optimal rather than minimal standards for breeding and care, and producing beautiful, well-structured, healthy, and handleable hognoses. We have been working towards becoming full-fledged hognose breeders for a few years now, and this year we put our snakes through their first brumation, videos still to come on that, delayed due to our move out of state, and paired them, and now we have at least one female who is gravid with her very first clutch of eggs. I am so excited to watch her have her first babies, to see my first little hog noses pipping, and I'm really looking forward to sharing all of that with you guys here and on my Instagram. So stay tuned and be sure to follow me on IG as well for more frequent updates too. Now on to the video. Today we're talking about another myth conception about snakes that I intend to not only debunk, but to absolutely annihilate so that we can move on to the really important stuff, which is enjoying and keeping snakes together. In order to do this, I'm going to, again, use objective facts provided by scientific study and analyses from experts in biology and zoology, and will explain the why behind the what for each debunking. And again, for those looking to go a step further and be a responsible and credible source of information for my dear hearties, I will provide 5 references for each debunked myth that you can read at your own leisure. And of course, if you ever have a question for me or want to learn more about hognoses or any of the other animals I keep, my door is always open. As long as the conversation can stay kind, please feel free to hit me up anytime. Now, let's get to myth number 2 of 5 and start destroying these ongoing pieces of baloney. Aren't snakes slimy? Well, no. I have my suspicions as to how this myth originated and why it persists. Even though it seems so out there for any reptile keeper, considering this myth is so easy to destroy with a simple touch, a lot of people aren't willing to try touching. The rationale, I gather, is likely from an association in some people's minds of all things creepy and crawly. Likewise, the originator of the binomial nomenclature we still use today, which most people just call the scientific names of animals, Carl Linnaeus lumped all reptiles and amphibians into one group called herpetos, the Greek word for to creep. Carl Linnaeus was essentially the creator of what we call today herpetology, the study of reptiles and amphibians, which is actually unfortunate considering he loathed these animals. Linnaeus was famously quoted as describing reptiles and amphibians like this: "These foul and loathsome creatures are distinguished by a heart with a single ventricle and a single auricle, doubtful lungs, and a double penis, Most amphibia are abhorrent because of their cold body, pale colors, cartilaginous skeleton, filthy skin, fierce aspect, calculating eye, offensive smell, harsh voice, squalid habitation, and terrible venom, and so their creator has not exerted his powers to create many of them." Well, Carl was not only kind of a jerk for thinking this way, he was also completely wrong on pretty much every account. We know now that both reptiles and amphibians come in a huge plethora of bright rainbow colors and are not merely pale. We are aware of the fact that snakes are actually quite clean creatures, with scales that deflect much of the mud and crud that other pets like our dogs and cats would easily track into the house, and even have a unique self-grooming method of shedding the entirety of their skin, while also, unlike dogs and cats, do not drool, leave fur everywhere, or lick their own butts. I also adore both dogs and cats. I am saying this for the benefit of those who have a difficult time grasping why someone might keep a snake as a pet. And it happens to be true. Amphibians are also quite clean animals. In fact, they cannot tolerate pollutants in their wetland homes. Also, in direct contradiction to Carl's sentiment that his creator did not make many of these animals, there are over 11,000 species of reptiles and over 8,000 species of amphibians, both of which inhabit every continent except for Antarctica. In fact, amphibians are an incredibly important part of the ecosystem. They not only provide a staple food source for many other animals like birds and reptiles, but they also eat an insane amount of bugs. 1,000 amphibians can eat about 5 million insects in a year, and yet, because of habitat destruction, water pollution, and other anthropogenic activities, amphibians are declining at an extremely alarming rate. As for reptiles, they provide incredible protection against massive rodent infestations, and they are also a food source for a large number of animals. Plains hognose snakes, for example, my personal favorite species, are preyed upon by predatory birds, coyotes, foxes, and other snakes. Carl Linnaeus lived and died in the 1700s, making such statements about these important, beautiful animals, and yet, it seems now in the 2000s, there is a lingering, antiquated, similar view of them. And that's a shame. We shouldn't be hanging on to the musings and misinformed ideologies of a botanist who existed hundreds of years ago, who harbored an obvious dislike for these creatures, and who didn't have an access to the modern technology and science that we have today. So if you think snakes are slimy, take a moment and think about why you believe that snakes are slimy. Have you ever touched a snake? Or were you told by someone else who was probably told by someone else, and so on and so forth, all the way back to the days of Carl Linnaeus himself? The reason why amphibians are grouped together, frogs, salamanders, and caecilians, is because they have several distinct characteristics that make them all amphibians. For one, they all have mucus glands in their skin. It is these mucus glands which produces a protective coating for their skin, helps them with reproduction, and prevents them from drying out, and yes, makes them feel slimy to the touch. Reptiles, though often lumped in with amphibians from the time Carl Linnaeus first lumped them together until modern day, as you now know, are not amphibians, and they do not share this characteristic. Reptiles are dry to the touch. Some are very smooth and glossy and can feel very sleek, and some are textured and almost rough feeling with keeled scales like my hognose that have a raised bump going through the middle of the scale and helps them move through their environment. Snakes actually have even fewer glands in their skin than humans do. In order for an animal to feel slimy, they need skin which is rich in mucus glands, and snakes simply don't have that. There you have it, guys. Not only should you now have a good idea how and why this whole silly business of snakes allegedly being slimy came from, but you have foolproof scientific evidence that snakes are dry, whilst frogs are the slimy ones. You could also just, touch a snake and see it for yourself, if you so dare. Well, me hearties, we can officially consider this myth utterly destroyed. Boom. Thank you so much for watching and for your support as I slowly but surely make more content for you to enjoy. Even videos like this, which end up being less than 10 minutes long at the end of the day, takes many hours of work to put together, and it is all worth it to me if even one person has a positive experience and learns something from them. I will have more educational videos, as well as personal experiences to share from broodmating and breeding snakes for the first time this year coming up, but in the meantime, if you liked this video, and especially if you learned something new in this video, then hey, like, subscribe, comment, and acquire snakes! Thanks, guys.